am so excited to be able to see you again, Deborah, because we met at the
I guess I should
Let's
lock
Talk.
my brakes.
Oh yeah, don't roll away. So yeah, you can't see, but this is our friend
Zoom.
Brian. Brian is in a wheelchair, so that's why I started. And Deborah and I met at the National Hope Talks Movement Conference on Bell Let's Talk Day. And you two have a really neat story about how you're making a difference in youth's lives and in suicide. But can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you met and just take us on the journey of what you're doing?
Well, Deborah tells the story very well about how we met. So I'm going to pass that over to her.
Okay, and then you can fill in at the end, all right? I have been working with suicide prevention for youth for 2 years, or actually more than that. It was 2016 when I started. That's how fast the time went. I think it was only 2 years ago. And I had put it down because I felt like I couldn't go any further with it by myself. And I felt I needed a partner, and preferably a man, because, you know, to bring this type of information to youth, you have to have both genders, because both genders need to be involved and comfortable, right? So I put it down because I'm thinking, how in the world do I walk into a strange man's life and say, join me on this quest? Like, how do you do that, right? So I put it down. I thought, you know what? Whatever. I just need to think about this for a while. Got a new job, and so I was working. 3 days later, my best friend, who lives in the same community that Brian does, knew his mother had gone into the hospital, and that her youngest son had given his life to taking care of her so she didn't have to live in a home. And yeah, my best friend told me this man tried to take his own life and he survived.
And that's you.
And that's Brian.
You were taking care of your mother.
Yeah, in 2015, my dad had a really bad stroke. Never recovered enough that he would be able to come home. Mom had relied on Dad for quite a bit. She had terrible arthritis in her knees. She had overcome ovarian cancer twice. And so I had to step up. I really ended up putting my heart and soul into looking after my mother. I was, working part-time and helping look after Mom. And they took her to the hospital, and that's when we found out the last thing we wanted to know. Her cancer was back, it was advanced, and there were no treatment options.
Wow. When was this?
This was October of last year.
And is she alive?
She has recently passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But having that terminal cancer diagnosis was such it's a terrible blow to me. I had allowed, and circumstances had led to me really having my entire life and practically my identity wrapped up in looking after my mother. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't really picture my future without my mother being in it. And then there were other issues of finances and housing, and it was pretty awful. On the morning of December 3rd of 2019, I woke up feeling particularly miserable. I cried into my coffee and breakfast sandwich and decided that there were no good options for me. Anything I could foresee in the future, I'd end up being a burden on somebody or another, and I couldn't stand that. So I decided that the best play with a bad hand would be to lay it down and take my own life. After thinking about it and deciding what I was going to do, I put on my coat and my shoes and I walked towards 16th Avenue, fairly close by. I live in Bowness. I knew there was a bridge going across 16th there. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I was trying to disappear.
Right.
And so I went out a little ways. I looked over the edge of the bridge and thought, yeah, that seems far enough, and climbed up on the edge and tipped myself over, and that's the last thing I remembered till I woke up in the hospital.
Someone found you.
Somebody saw me go over.
Okay.
I had seen people outside smoking and talking, and so it may be one of them. I was told afterwards that somebody saw me go over and called 911 right away. I had stopped and sent a text message to a few people that I knew who I thought would then be able to let everybody else know, saying, essentially what I told you, that, I can only ever see myself being a burden on people, and so even though I know my death will cause some distress, I'd rather get it over at all over at once.
And we're hearing a lot of middle-aged men, not that 42 is young, but there's a lot of men these days that are attempting or actually being able to go through with it, and I'm so happy that you're speaking up, because men need to hear other men talk about this.
Yes, I do think that's particularly important, because there is that cult of masculinity that says that we ought to keep that kind of feeling to ourselves, carry your own water, nonsense, dangerous nonsense. I had told friends that I want to use my experience to help others. Those who are, and had already I had seen on Facebook a friend post saying, I'm having a difficult time and it's family issues, and so I immediately sent that person a message saying, here I am, in the hospital, please come and talk. And they did. And so I was like,
Isn't that great? Using that second chance to help others. I love that. And so tell us what this looks like. What is this partnership? What are you tackling?
There are so many resources out there. There's phone lines, there's places where youngsters can go, young people can go after school, and there's a lot of resource out there. But what all of them do is they expect the person to come to them. And what I want to do is be there for them. I want to reach out and be there for them and encourage them to contact us about someone else. Because that person's not going to contact us.
No.
But what I'm hoping is two things. Number one, that young people will start to recognize in their friends that there might be trouble, there might be problems, there might be depression, there might be abuse, somewhere. Maybe they know this person's getting bullied. They're seeing it happen, Those people. And then the other group I want to attract is other survivors. I'm hoping to get other survivors in different cities willing to pass out the booklets that we are wanting to make, these workbooks for the students, so that they have an opportunity to actually hold and have tools, understand life from a bigger perspective. People can email, they can text us, we can do Facebook and FaceTime, things of that nature, which we will when Brian is stronger. He's in the very beginning of his recovery, and he has another major surgery to go through. So we're taking it at a pace that he can participate.
That's great. Well, and so maybe this is an opportunity for some of the Hope movement listening. If you've attempted suicide and survived, which you would because you'd be watching this, or if you're contemplating, Deborah is a great person to contact, because she wants to make a difference. You told me something really exciting when we first got here about what you're trying to do. What are you trying to do?
We are trying to render suicide extinct. We want to see a generation come forward where suicide is not even considered a potential solution to problems. And I think that generation is in school between the ages of 8 and 16 right now.
I couldn't agree more. You know, it's interesting. A lot of the school work that we have done, we had a group of grade 9s sit in a circle once, and we asked them what they're noticing about mental health, kind of like what we did at the conference.
Right.
And one grade 9 said, there's not one day that goes by where we don't hear someone say, I want to end my life.
Wow.
So what you're doing is needed, and it's important, and it's so valid. And I think that drawing from the experiences of people like yourself, bringing the stories together, that creates hope. If we can give these kids some hope, then maybe perhaps they see past just the bleakness of the moment.
Yeah.
Of the moment, that's the key.
Yeah.
Well,
right
and
there.
that's often the case, is that suicide is so often a spur-of-the-moment decision, a short-term decision. But I had never planned or attempted suicide until the morning of December 3rd, 2019.
That quick, hey? Just
Yeah,
that quick.
within 2 hours, I went from, I feel particularly miserable this morning, to tipping myself over the side of a bridge.
And this man wasn't into drugs, wasn't into
Yeah.
alcohol,
No.
not a gambler, okay?
You're taking care of your mother for,
Yes.
like this is a, really good guy,
Yeah. And this
I'd
was
like
the
to
thing.
think so.
Yeah. And I asked him, I said, so when you went to do this, did you take alcohol? Did you take pills? What gave you the courage to just go and do it?
Yeah.
And he said,
Yeah.
it was just a fuzz, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like even to say to any of the viewers, to say like if you're contemplating or if you're thinking you're in that place, look at this life. Look at this life that's right in front of you right now, and realize that there is something to live for. And wouldn't it be nice for you not to have to lose a leg, to not have to be months in the hospital? Like I just think that, Brian, you're such a physical picture of hope, to know that does not have to be where you go. And often the emotions we feel are moments, and you're gonna get through this moment, and that's what it is. It's a moment. So press through, keep going, don't stop. Reach out to Deborah. Deborah, you have a book here. I want you to show everyone.
Oh, this is Spots on a Leopard. I wrote Spots on a Leopard. It's all about my life and what caused me to have the PTSD that kept driving me towards suicide, and I had to fight very hard not to. I attempted suicide twice when I was younger, once when I was 12 and once when I was 19. I spoke to a very good psychologist when I was 19, and it was because of him that I realized if I was going to do it a third time, I was going to do it right. And I didn't understand, I didn't know that I had PTSD, but as I got older and this surfaced more and more, and I just got too old to outrun the fuzzy head and the yelling and everything that goes on in your head, I just got too old to outrun it after a while, and then I had to just sit there and not do it, and resist the temptation to just go and just end it. But exactly what you said, this is a moment, I'm gonna get through this. And the way I did it is I wrote everything down. I wrote it down exactly how I was going to do this. I wrote my goodbye letter to everybody, put it all in an envelope, because for me it was a perpetuating thing of this would occur at night and I couldn't sleep. So then all this would get worse and worse, but if I wrote it all down and put it in an envelope, now I could stop thinking about it and I could go get sleep. And I made a deal with God. I said, you know what? If I feel the same in the morning, I'm going to go ahead with this plan. And you have to forgive me. Because you were there. You saw everything I went through. You know why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. This is before I knew I had PTSD and I knew what was wrong with me. And that's how I survived it. That's how I managed to not commit suicide when I desperately, desperately wanted to get rid of the pain and the noise and everything.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So two miracles right here. So if someone wants to reach you, what's the best way?
Well, we have a website. It's called Spots on a Leopard. You can go there. You can definitely send an email from there. Brian has an email that you can reach him. Any men that would like to have a conversation with another man?
Yes, brianwardale@gmail.com.
How do you spell Wardale?
Yeah, just the way it sounds.
Yeah, correctly?
How do you spell
I'm
it
sorry.
correctly?
I'm totally sorry. Totally sorry.
So I'm going to try W-A-R Dale, D-A-L-E.
Correct. And Brian with an I.
Brian with an
That
I.
might,
We are.
that might trick a few people.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you are both very great people to get in touch with. I wanna definitely read this book. EMDR saved my life. I've heard a lot of great things about EMDR, and if you want to reach out to Deborah, grab this book. The Power of Our Stories, and it helps others overcome, allows us to continue to overcome. So I just want to thank you so much for being on this video, and I look forward to seeing you out of the hospital.
It's wonderful that there are the services, the resources for people who are experiencing suicidal thoughts to reach out, but also, in my case, I knew those resources existed and I didn't reach out.
Yeah.
I didn't think I needed them until I was so miserable that I didn't want help. I wanted to die. So having those resources there, super important. I would never say they're not. But if you know somebody who you suspect might be suicidal, you might see some of those ugly red flags, please reach out to them first.
That's
If somebody had seen just how much I was suffering, I had fooled myself. But if somebody had seen how much I was suffering and reached out to me, I may not have done what I did. I blame nobody. I blame nobody. But you may just save a life.
That's a really good point. That's really, really good. And always good to hear from someone from firsthand experience rather than, no, that's beautiful. No, please, community, get yourself with people, care about people, reach out to people. Mental health is created socially.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Yeah. Bye.